Wouldn't it be great for darts to see, Michael van Gerwen bounce back? You don't want it to just be about Luke versus Luke. I think the surprise package could be Chris Dobey. I do fear for Nathan Aspinall because I don't know if he's 100% fit. When I walked into that night and I saw Littler, we've seen him behind our shoulder on there. When he wants to win it, he wins it. He wins, he becomes a two-time Premier League champion.
Hi there, welcome to the MODUS Super Series darts channel on Pluto TV. 24 hours, 7 days a week of darts content. And today we are talking Premier League. It's just around the corner. And who better to have a chat with about the Premier League than the former champion himself, Glenn Durrant. Great memories of winning that title.
Yeah, even just saying them words there now, my mind's sort of going back to the day I was selected. But yeah, it's a real honour to be selected for that.
We want to look ahead to the 2025 edition of the Premier League. And first of all, your initial thoughts on the lineup.
I think I got 6 pretty comfortably. On a personal level, I was delighted that Chris Dobey, very close to him, that he got in. I was thinking maybe Mike Dedeker, possibly Damon Heta, instead of Nathan Aspinall. So I think that was the one area there. But I'm really happy for Nathan. It's not just on what we've done the past sort of 3 or 4 months. He's sort of sustained where he's at. He's a crowd favourite, and the Premier League is slightly different.
This is going to be a conversation really about predictions. I know you're going to be commentating on quite a few of the nights as well. So first of all, how long do you think this format will stay for? Because that's one of the things that people have questioned.
Yeah, and I think there's too many people question it. I think the answer from Matt Porter is if people are talking about it, then we've done the job right. So I was trying to digest exactly what he meant by that. And just looking at the weekly fixtures, you are seeing the same names there. But look, when you're there on the night, it's not a question. But I think when as a TV event, people want to see different faces, whatever. But I think if you're someone who's in the audience, the tickets were sold out within minutes. I'm not one to often doubt the PDC decisions there. They usually make the timing correct if they're going to do any changes. I played it when it was 10 players and now we've got this playing down to 1 winner. I understand there wasn't an event I went to where the real big hitter in 2019, Michael van Gerwen, played early. The crowd sort of left for that last game. But
was it your game last? Was it?
Possibly. It didn't take you long there, did it? But yeah, so I think that's the reason behind that there. But they'll make the right decision, Chris.
Yeah, and absolutely. Played down to a winner every night, so the format is as it has been recently. But let's go through some of the players, starting with the defending world champion now, Luke Littler. What could he do this year in the Premier League?
Honestly, I went to the Premier League in London. I commentated on the final, and about 2 weeks before that, I sort of watched Luke Littler, how he was preparing. And then I bumped into him as he walked into the Premier League final that night, and there was just something in the eyes. My assessment of Luke Littler, when he wants to win, he will win. So, and there's no better sort of arena, there's no better stage than the Premier League. I think he loves it, he relishes it.
He's made for it, isn't he?
And he's going to take some beating. Is probably my long way of answering the point that when he wants to and when he fancies it, he often delivers.
So 9 dart finishers, are they going to come from Littler this year, that type of thing?
Again, just to sort of add a little bit, when you play in these arenas, the darts don't often fly like they do, behind us, or, in Wigan or Milton Keynes behind closed doors. You've got to take into consideration the airflow. So he throws a fairly light dart. I mean, he has banged 9 darters in there, and I'm sure we'll see a plethora of them. It's made for him, we'll see. But that's just something else to take into consideration. You'll even see players maybe go up 2, 3, 4 grams, just specifically for the Premier League.
I do want to get your thoughts on all of the players, but in the second half of this chat, we're going to ask for some predictions about maybe who's going to win it, of course, but who might underachieve this time around. And before we sort of really get into the other players that are there, just talk about some of the players that are missing and who you thought. You mentioned Mike Dedeker, you've mentioned Damon Heta. Who else is really going to be a miss for the Premier League this year?
I mean, it's a global sport, and I thought that was the reason behind Damon Heta. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, he's up to number 6, number 5 in the world. We're looking at, we're obviously been going to Australia for the World Series of darts. I just think he hit that 9 darter at the World Championships, but didn't see out the game, and that must have created a concern because it is brutal. I think the one name, like I said, is Mike De Decker. I thought someone from Belgium would be in it.
Dimitri van den Berg.
UK Open champion. You know, despite the fact he's not had a great season, he won on the floor. You know, he got to the back end of TV stages. I was surprised either Dimmy or Mike De Decker wasn't in. Chizzy, you know, like, so good on the European tour, so good on the floor. Didn't back it up with the TV. So I'm sure the PDC looked into everything and, you know, and everyone, and they've made a decision there. It's a fairly experienced lineup in a sense that, you know, I don't have any doubt, any fear for anyone. I think there'll be some amazing ones there, but there's a couple of names that could have freshened it up a little bit.
Names that could have freshened it up. What about a player that's been in it for a long old time and now isn't in it for the first time? Peter Wright, he's not going to be there this time.
And I think that could be to the beneficial of him in the sense that he has been the whipping boy for a couple of years now, and it's not what you want to see and what you want to remember of Peter Wright. I always said from my point of view, I wish I'd just played that first Premier League, because as much as it was great to win it, I'm probably remembered as the guy who then lost every single game the second time and remembered how poorly I was playing there. So it might be a good thing for Peter Wright, because I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of training. I'm a big fan of that work-life balance. So he's going to get time with his family. He's going to get back on the practice board, and that might just be a good. It might be a blessing in disguise that he's not in the Premier League this year.
The two least experienced players, I should say, are actually the world number 1 and 2. They've only played one season in the Premier League, believe it or not. The two Lukes.
Yeah.
Luke Humphries. Do you think he's going to really target this year?
Yeah, I do. I think he's hungry. I think, again, he's had time away. I wasn't so sure about his preparation going into the Worlds. Now, he came back with a valid argument in the sense that just before the Worlds, he was at every exhibition, Wales, Scotland, but then he was going over to Germany, and I wasn't so sure, but he knew what he was doing. He knew he had one game to win before Christmas, so he knew he was getting the match practice. It's lucrative to do the exhibitions, and I think he's just had that little couple of weeks away from the limelight. Yes, he's been over to Bahrain, and I thought it looks sharp there as well. I think we'll see the best of Luke Humphries. I think he wants to get the bit between his teeth, and I don't think he wants to do a Michael Smith where he's become world champion and, you know, sort of a couple of years then of not winning. He's had a very good season last year, and I fully anticipate he'll do that again.
Who do you think is going to get off to the best start this time around? Because it's a long season, isn't it?
And I tell you what, the opening match of Van Gerwen against Luke, and also the section that he's in there as well. You know, Belfast is a wonderful venue from there. Gerwen Price needs to get off to a good start. I always think the shoulders drop. He begins to moan a little bit when he's not up there. So I think it's fundamental, really, that he starts well. If he does, he can go on have a great campaign. But obviously, you know, I'll be cheering on for Chris Dobie with the North East. Are super proud from there. I'm really got my fingers crossed for Nathan Asma, because he's took an awful lot of stick about the selection. So much he's had to come off social media. That's the interest that's on it there. But I can't look past the Lukes. I think Luke Littler's got a tough section to draw. I'm going to say that Luke Humphries wins in Belfast.
We've seen Michael Van Gerwen in the past have good starts to Premier League seasons and then really take his foot off the gas. Yeah. Do you think that's a danger if anyone maybe goes and wins the first 3 or 4 weeks?
The momentum's great. I know it's a word that we often talk about there. If you can get off to a good start, the pressures, you know, is taken away. When you're starting to search for that first win, when you see yourself in 8th position, it can be really tough. And, you know, I mean, Rob Cross, we haven't even said his name yet. He's got the all-round game. Was a little bit disappointing in the World Series of Darts at the beginning of the season. I expect him to bounce back. I think it'll be a phenomenal competition. Michael Van Gerwen was brilliant at the World Championships, has taken a long vacation, a long holiday in Thailand. You know, is he going to be ready? Is he going to be? It's fascinating. You want to get off, but all the juices will be flowing when Belfast comes round.
You mentioned that match against Luke Littler. That is incredible, but is it a really difficult match for Michael Van Gerwen to have to face on night one because of what happened in the World Final?
For me, Immortals, yes. For Michael Van Gerwen, he loves it, doesn't he? He's no longer the headline act now, and I'm not so sure. Has he got that fight in him? I'm so impressed with his longevity. The James Wardes, the Steve Beatons of this world. It's hard, It's really difficult when you're on the tour. You think everything's great. You start protecting money, and for him to be doing it for a couple of decades now, and can he get that form from 2016-ish? I'm not so sure. Is the hunger, is the fight to get on the practice board? But fear, no. I think he has this mentality on any given night. He still believes his A game's the best.
And that world final defeat, that will have hurt him. Maybe that's what he needed to get that hunger back.
Yeah, I thought he did well to get to the final. I thought the draw opened up for him. And all the credit to Luke Litter in the final. Luke had his early nerves in the first and second round. From then on, I didn't think there was going to be another winner than him. Michael tried to hang on in there. He couldn't. It could have been a case of changing of the guard.
And no one's won the Premier League more than he has. Yeah. Can you see him putting together a campaign that gets him there to win it again?
Absolutely. And wouldn't it be great for darts to see Michael van Gerwen bounce back? You don't want it to just be about Luke versus Luke. Michael Smith, Peter Wright, we've talked about. They're the guys who could go away and not been in the Premier League. I was a bit disappointed with the Mike De Decker response because, it's like you can't throw your toys out with a PDC. You've just got to play the game. So I'm looking forward to see how his season's going. But yeah, in answer to your question, if we can get Michael van Gerwen winning again, it's only good for the sport.
Will there be a kind of whipping boy this year? Is there anybody that you're really concerned about being in the Premier League?
I mean, I hate that question in fact, but I guess as a pundit I've got to answer it, but I do fear for Nathan Aspinall because I don't know if he's 100% fit, and also that release of the dart, it looked a little awkward at the World Series of Darts, and I hate saying that about a player I admire so much. If anyone's going to struggle, Rob Cross didn't start the World Series of Darts great. He's been a player that's finished near the bottom of the Premier League. Certainly the season I won it, I remember he looked dejected throughout that. So they're the guys. I think we'll see a resurgent Chris Dobie. He just loves the limelight. I think he has all the attributes to do it. So in answer to your question, I think it'll be a bit of a toss-up between Nathan Aspinall and Rob Cross.
Just on that point you made about Nathan Aspinall, is that issues with his technique, issues with injury. He's a fighter, isn't he? We know that. But when you're in something like the Premier League, 10,000 people watching, you're in that goldfish bowl, aren't you? How difficult is it to deal with it, all that playing out in front of everybody's eyes?
I wish I could just say to you, Chris, it's just the playing. But when you're a Premier League player, let me tell you, you've got to be there on the Wednesday. So if you're playing in Berlin, the Ahoy in Holland, Belfast, Dublin, on the opening one, they've got to get there on the Tuesday. So all the media obligations, all the interviews that you've got to do, the playing's the easy bit. Just trying to get yourself prepared. The players will all say to you, if you give me 3 hours and let me prepare, I'll take on anybody. The Premier League's it's a different beast. And I think that's what sort of surprised me. I wanted more. But I remember Gary Anderson walking in saying, 17 more weeks to go. It's really tough. And when you're not winning, each week it gets tougher and tougher.
Who could be the surprise package? If you can say one of the best 8 players in the world would be a surprise.
I think Gerwen Price. He's been out of the limelight, but he's got to get off quickly, because in the same answer I could say he could be the whipping boy, because he doesn't like to see himself in 6th, 7th, 8th place. So if he gets off quickly, he started the World Series of Darts, well. He doesn't fear anybody. When he's got this unbelievable mentality. I could give you examples. He knows exactly what he wants in life, but what he doesn't often demonstrate for me is real character, real tenacity. It's almost like if things aren't going my way, I can't be bothered. So I would like to see a reaction from Gerwen Price.
Is that where a lot of criticise the format? But is that where this format can actually help? Because even if you're a long way off at the bottom of the league table, you can still go and win a night.
Yeah.
And that's motivation in itself, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And those first games become like finals. And like you said, when you start winning games, it's pretty okay. It's a bit more of a level playing field when you're playing these arenas. It's, you're letting go of a dart and you're thinking, that is just not flying like it does in a normal TV event or on the floor. It creates excitement. They live in each other's pockets. They're all good friends. So we'll see the twists, the turns. But, we could see someone have a really difficult time. And let me tell you, I'm glad man was in 2 blocks of 10 days because it was over and done with within a couple of weeks. Whereas if you've got 17 weeks and you're not winning and you're reading the social medias and it's affecting the family, you're having to fly on the Wednesday, It's not all of a sudden. It's not all glory, glory Premier League.
What's the biggest surprise you think we might see in this year's tournament?
That's a good question. I think there'll be no surprise to many people that we'll see incredible darts, massive amounts of 180s, that the crowd will go away. I mean, it's a unique atmosphere. Ali Pali's, just on the back of 17 days there, that feels like Christmas parties, and it just feels a little bit different. The Premier League is then ramped up again. Every player, every person in the audience will leave very happy. I think the surprise package could be Chris Dobey. Now, whether I'm saying that with my heart or my brain, I'm not so sure. I think he's ready. He's primed. He loves it. You know what I mean? He's good for the sport. He's clean cut. He interviews well. And, at times in the World Championships last year, I thought he was going to go on and win it. At times this year, I thought he was going to go on and win it. The timing's right for Chris Dobey. And whether it's a surprise to many, but I expect him to get to the playoffs.
Which player and in which city will get the best reception?
It's got to, I was going to say Gary Anderson, Glasgow, because we're so used to, because that was spectacular. Let me tell you, that was like, I was a guest. Remember those times when players were...
Challenger.
Challenger. And I played Darryl Gurney, and the noise for Gary Anderson that night. I mean, even now I'm just sort of thinking about it there. I think I was surprised that the Ahoy wasn't Michael van Gerwen crazy.
The Barney Army used to be out
unbelievable,
there, didn't they? Yeah.
Unbelievable. And again, that's another atmosphere. So Gary Anderson, Glasgow, Barney at the Ahoy. So I'm going to have to go with Gerwen, Price in Cardiff.
I think Bunting might get it in Liverpool this time around.
Great shout.
Yeah, he really has.
And there's a name we haven't even talked about.
Well, on him, he really has got there off the back of his darts. He's played fantastic stuff, but he's got this new identity he's carved out for himself over the last few years, and that's important too, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at social media this morning, and he was dressed as a gymnast doing some somersaults and whatever, but it's working. The song, Let's Go Bunting Mental, everything is all, he's the king of merch. So, if you want a signed shirt, then Stephen Bunting's your man. And let me tell you, I go back a good decade with him. We shared a room in 2013, and I remember a moment where he was on the practice board. He was just about to play a player called Wesley Harms, who's played at the MODUS Super Series, in the final. And I think he went to the board maybe 20 times, and it's no exaggeration that he hit 15 180s. It's the most told story I tell at any exhibitions when people say, what's the most, is it the magic of Taylor, is it the Van Gerwen? I saw a 10-minute spell by Stephen Bunting. Then he went off the rails a little bit. He dominated the BDO. He's had his periods of the highs and lows of darts. Right now, he's playing the dart of his life. And again, he's just won the World Series of Darts. Everything's right away from the hockey. He's just won. He's just become a father again. Stephen Bunting is he's just a different animal at the moment, and he's loving it.
I can't believe I'm going to ask this question, but they do seem to be coming quite often now. So rather than asking who's the most likely to hit a 9-dart finish, I'm going to ask it this way. Who's going to hit the most 9-dart finishes?
Yeah, I'm going to go. It's the easy answer, but I'm going to go with Luke Littler because he's just got something special. And that classic first dart merchant, isn't he? I mean, the way he throws his darts. Is he putting the effort in, though? It was interesting. I sort of pick up things now that I never used to. And if I never win another tournament in 2025, at least I've won that one. I don't think Michael van Gerwen would have said that in 2016, 17 when he was dominating. He was already thinking of the next tournament. So it'll be interesting how he goes on, but he's an absolute genius. And he tops the charts for the 180s by a country mile. So if anyone's going to hit a plethora of 180s, it'll be a plethora of 9-darters, it'll be him.
Well, speaking of topping the charts, who do you think will finish first in the table?
I'm going to go with Luke Humphries. I think he's going to bounce back nicely. He looks fit, he looks healthy, looks like he's ready. I think he might have learned so many lessons when over the Christmas period there. I think he's managing his time well. So I think for me, I think Luke Humphries tops the charts in the league table, but I think we'll have a different winner on the playoff final.
We'll come to that, but we need another 3 semi-finalists first. So who else is going to occupy those playoff spots?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Luke Littler. I'm going to go with my surprise, Chris Dobey. And I just think you can't have a Premier League playoffs without Michael van Gerwen. So I think they'll be my 4. The 3 that people may guess, and Chris Dobey just maybe get over the line with Bunting, Gerwen, Price. And I like to say, it could be tough. I'd love to see Nathan Aspinall sort of get off quickly. Rob Cross has got the game. But I was asked the question, and they're the 4 for me.
I think I'm leaning towards Bunting as one of the 4.
Yeah.
If they are the 4, What's the final looking like?
It's just, like I said, it goes back to my very first question. When I walked into that night and I saw Littler, we've seen him behind our shoulder on there. When he wants to win it, he wins it. And I think if he gets through the place, which I'm pretty certain he will, he wins. He becomes a 2-time Premier League champion.
Do you think he can dominate darts this year?
No, I don't. I don't think we'll ever see anyone really dominate again. The players out there right now, Chris, from Q School players to, people getting in the top 16 now. A few of the rule changes means that top 16 are heavily protected right now, and there's players there from 64 to 17 who are desperate to get in there. I don't think anyone will dominate because of how busy the calendar as well. Players are managing their time. And I think gone are the days we'll see a Phil Taylor, Michael van Gerwen who are just winning tournament after tournament. I think that the TV majors will be spread out, but the big uns, the Lukes will be up there.
What does it take to win the Premier League finally?
Something really special. You've got to be at the real top of your game. I mean, I'm saying it as a Premier League winner, but I felt I was the best player in the world round about 2019-20. The mindset was great. I loved it, and I wanted it. So, like I said, you've got to be a great player. Consistency, all those words which you'd associate with darts, which I'm probably trying to find something which is just a little bit different. But right now, I think we've got a genius at work. And at 18-year-old now, I think he's ready to bloom even more. I think he'll be a proud world champion. The first night in Belfast when he's called out the champion of the world is going to be an incredible moment. But he handles it well, good people around him. And I still think Littler, will do something special this year.
Thanks, Glenn. The former Premier League champion has spoken. Dozer says that Luke Littler is going to defend that Premier League crown in 2025. If you are watching us on the YouTube channel, put in the comments who you think will win. Give your predictions to all the questions asked. And if you follow us on social media, feel free to do the same at MSS Darts. But do stay tuned for plenty more of these chats here on the MODUS Super Series Darts channel on Pluto TV.